The Grand Theater in Knoxville says it's facing potential foreclosure as a result of costly storm damage repairs. Local 5's Emma Stroner shows us how that damage has impacted the theater and what the community is doing to save it.
For the past 10 years, the Grand Theater has been an essential part of Knoxville's downtown. Storm damages closed the theater for a few months last year, and it has since reopened, but looming problems have remained. Despite the hardship, no feat has been too small for the Knoxville community. Kurt Schwanebeck, president of the Grand Theater Foundation, takes us back to the building's most recent challenge.
It was almost a year ago. It was July 29th of 2024, and we were having a new roof installed.
That's when a storm rolled through Knoxville while crews were in the middle of replacing the theater's roof. Schwanebeck says the tarps weren't secured properly, allowing rain to pour into the building.
It took all of our reserve money to buy parts and a new ceiling for the auditorium and the cleanup and the repainting and all that. So yeah, it's tight for the theater right now.
The bill to dry out the space alone was $100,000, and insurance didn't cover all of it. But even with inflation driving up costs, the theater hasn't raised its $5 ticket prices. Now, Schwanebeck says that may have to change, though he's had no problem gaining the town's support. Although the theater is up and running now, their doors were closed from July through October of last year, leaving a noticeable hole in the community.
It's heartbreaking because this is part of this entire community's tradition.
That's Eric Hatch, who now lives in New York but brought his kids back to Knoxville to experience the theater he grew up with. And he's far from the only one with childhood memories here.
I had a lady, I opened the door's locked, I opened the door, and she handed me a $100 bill, and she says, "This is for the kids that I brought here, my children."
Now the Grand Theater is counting on that kind of generosity to keep the projectors rolling. The theater needs to raise $125,000 to avoid foreclosure and stay in community hands. With a population of just under 7,500, the theater brings together a large part of the town, and thanks to community efforts, it has a better chance of surviving. In Knoxville, I'm Emma Stroner, Local 5 News.
Well, the annual IndyCar Series stop in Newton is wrapping up. Local 5's JD Snover caught up with one city leader who calls the weekend a success.
Things are quiet again at the Iowa Speedway just a day after IndyCar made its annual pit stop right here in Newton. Now, despite lower attendance numbers than in years past, city leaders are still chalking up the weekend as a win.
This was about a race weekend. We had some great racing. We had fans who absolutely loved the experience. It was different than other years when it was a race and concerts.
Since 2022, IndyCar has paid a visit to Newton once a year. Those races had been accompanied by live music, but when Hy-Vee pulled out as a key sponsor this year, those concerts went with them. As fans have taken to social media to discuss their decisions not to go, that's been a factor. But Mayor Evelyn George says those who did come to the races left a mark on the business community.
For the race itself, we had campers and we had people staying in hotels. We had lots of people with food. We had one of our food trucks talk about having the honor of serving the team of the winning race car driver and how much that meant to their small business.
A spokesperson with IndyCar tells Local 5 that official attendance numbers are not in yet because they still have to factor in things like same-day walk-ups. In the meantime, Mayor George says she's already looking towards the next big race.
Yeah, we've got another huge race weekend, and we know that the NASCAR Cup Series race on Sunday, of course, has been sold out for a while already. So,
in Newton, I'm JD Snover, Local 5 News.
Over 10,000 Afghan refugees in the U.S. could face deportation starting today. That's after the Trump administration ended their temporary protected status. The Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, claims that allowing the Afghan nationals to temporarily stay in the U.S. is a security risk. Local 5's Alex Fulton is here in studio with how refugees in central Iowa are responding to this. Alex.
Well, Stephanie, community leader Nabi Mohammadi tells me he isn't aware of any Afghani refugees in central Iowa currently under temporary protected status. But he says those who are could struggle to find employment overseas and be thrown back in a war-torn country.
I don't think if they have a good reason and to to stay here, they will be sent back.
Nabi Mohammadi says in anticipation of the Trump administration's changes, some Afghan refugees applied for other immigration programs. These include special immigrant visas and asylum.
They got either their asylum approved or SIV approved, and they kind of left the TPS because they already had established legal pathway to get their green card.
Mohammadi is the founder of the Iowa Afghan Community and Cultural Organization, which assists Afghan refugees with legal services.
We're all volunteers. We all have our full-time jobs, but we want to help the community as much as we can.
Mohammadi himself fled Afghanistan in 2013 after helping the Iowa National Guard as a translator. He says those being sent back face dangers in their home country.
Know the situation right now, it would be risky for those who have done the same thing to go back and live there.
But he says there could be underlying reasons why the Afghan refugees are facing deportation now.
They might have broken the law, something like that, and they are on TPS, and now the TPS is going away. They are in trouble.
Now, Mohammadi encourages any Afghan refugees who haven't already applied for another immigration program to reach out to him. He can help connect them with an immigration attorney to discuss options.
Well, crews have been hard at work in the city of Albia, where firefighters and emergency crews work to battle a fire that has been going for hours. Now, because of the smoke, health officials have urged anyone with respiratory conditions to stay indoors. Local 5's Larissa Leone has an inside look at the scene.
Well, Stephanie, fire crews have been working tirelessly since this morning, and they tell me they are still looking to account for all people. This building behind me has been on fire for quite some time. They put it out and it sparks up again. There are apartment buildings located at the top of the building, and they tell me not all residents are accounted for.
Chief John Freshwater of the Albia Fire Department received a call of heavy smoke coming from a building on the town square around 8 a.m. Monday morning.
Then when the guys got on scene, there was heavy fire up above.
There were around 6 to 8 apartments at the top of the building. Chief Freshwater says crews worked hard to evacuate the residents.
We tried to get to a couple of the back ones, and they were met by heavy fire and heat, so they didn't get to the very back one.
According to the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, there are still people unaccounted for.
We've got everybody accounted for except for one person, and there was a possibility that she left last night, according to the landlord. So we don't have any definites on that.
Caitlin Waters is the owner of Hare Haven, located right next door to the building that caught fire. She said she had an employee who was evacuated.
She got out fine. I got over here at about 9. A lot of the building was in flames.
Waters says although the damage to her business is extensive, she's grateful to be able to lean on her small town.
Many people have been here. I've received just countless messages, people coming up here personally to say how sorry they are. This community really comes together when stuff like this happens.
Now, there's been a lot of community members camping out in that area right where that fire is, and the Sheriff's Department says he does not recommend it. It is best that you avoid the area. That smoke is not good for anybody. He also says that the investigation is ongoing as for how many more people need to be accounted for and the status of those residents who lived in that building. But for now, Larissa Leone, Local 5 News.
Fire crews are still on scene this morning in Albia, about an hour and a half southeast of Des Moines, after flames tore through this historic building you see right here behind me on the town square.
And that fire broke out nearly 24 hours ago, displacing several residents and businesses. Our Megan McPherson is live in Albia this morning with new updates for us today. Megan, what are you learning from first responders?
Yeah, Dan and Joseph, Albia Fire Chief John Freshwater joining us now with the latest updates on the investigation into this fire. Chief, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know that this portion of the town square is still blocked off this morning. Can you tell us when residents and these business owners might be able to get back in here and just see kind of, what's left behind from all of this?
I was just updating a couple right now that we're going to check out. They had to shut all the gas off on this side of the square and the electricity, so I think they're going to come up and try to at least get this part of the block back on service, but they're going to investigate what they got here, and it's when they're able to come in whenever.
And Chief, you said this has been a tough job for your guys in the last 24 hours. They've been working tirelessly, putting out hotspots, of course, fighting the actual blaze just yesterday. How are you keeping your crew fresh? I know that you said that you guys have circled in a couple different crews, right?
We've been rotating. We're taking like 3 hours off and go home, shower, relax, and the Monroe County Ambulance is on scene for rehab here for us, and public health will be back here in the morning with bringing food and water and stuff.
And can you tell us right now what you guys are working on? I know you still have some some water going on the fire.
Yes, we're just hitting some hot spots. We're trying to get it cooled down so we can get in there, get the excavator in there, and do some move around and see if we can figure out what caused the fire and what have you.
We were just talking that yesterday when you got this call, you knew that this was a significant loss for the community. Obviously, Albia takes a lot of pride in its town square. What's your message to the people of Albia right now?
They showed great support. I mean, I don't know if you were here yesterday, but this whole side of the square, they brought food and water. The fire station's full of food and water and lots of stuff.
Community bands together in times like this. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Chief, for joining us. I know that it's been a long 24 hours for you. We appreciate you taking the time to give us those updates.
Thank you.
Guys, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Megan, we appreciate the work they're doing out there and appreciate you. Thank you.
Tonight, we begin in the town square of Albia, where local residents are now dealing with the aftermath of a massive fire. We're also learning new information today, including that human remains were found in one building. We still do not know what caused this fire. Between 6 to 8 apartments there are now just a pile of rubble, leaving multiple families without a home. Local 5's Alex Fulton is live in Albia with the latest developments. Alex.
Well, Stephanie, this sad situation turned even more devastating today. Fire officials discovered human remains inside of that building here behind me around 8:45 this morning. Other residents I spoke with today said they were sad to hear about one of their neighbors being killed in the fire. Crews kept busy cleaning what's left of the R.O. Kramer building over 24 hours after a fatal fire.
Now we kind of have to restart, and we're not really sure where to start with that.
Monday morning, Trevor Ewing and his brother Gavin were asleep in their apartment when they woke up to a neighbor knocking at their door.
He was like, "This is a real fire, this is a real event," and we immediately believed him because there was smoke in our apartment.
Once they escaped, they didn't realize how bad it was until they started seeing flames coming out of the building.
Honestly, it sucks because we lost literally everything except our phones, and he thankfully grabbed his wallet, or it was already in his pants.
Albia Fire Chief John Freshwater and other first responders discovered the remains of a person in a room where he believes the fire started.
We just had the State Fire Marshal here, and we went in to find the missing person that we thought we couldn't find, and we find the remains of a person in there.
Trevor says he saw his late neighbor Sunday night, hours before the fire broke out.
There was a little patio set that she was sitting on, and I just walked past her. I didn't really say anything, and just to know that like we'll never see her again is a weird feeling.
The Ewing brothers feel fortunate to only lose their belongings because not everyone made it out okay.
It's awful. It's heartbreaking. It's tragic. It makes us all feel bad, obviously. My heart goes out to them, you know, if she has family.
The Ewing brothers are currently staying with a friend and are looking to move to a new apartment here in town. Officials haven't yet identified the person who died in the fire. Live in Albia, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
Inflation rose to its highest rate since February in June, but local economists say not to panic just yet. Local 5's J.D. Snover spoke with two who say not to read too far into monthly reports like the one released today.
That's right, Stephanie. Despite the recent rise, one local economist I talked to is anticipating a cut to interest rates by the end of the year. The Consumer Price Index, used to monitor the average price the urban consumer pays for everyday items, rose to 2.7% in June. That's slightly higher than Creighton economics professor Ernie Goss had anticipated.
We were expecting a 0.2%. It was 0.3%. So that's only 0.1%, but multiply that times 12. You're talking about a little bit more money there.
As for causes of the increase, President Donald Trump's tariffs on imported goods could be a factor.
Drake professor Bill Bull says it's still too early to tell, but some individual numbers from this morning's report may be a result of those policies, like the 0.4% increase in the cost of clothing, which is a mostly imported product.
The increase in apparel was 0.4% rather than 0.3%. So yeah, maybe. And again, it's just 1 month, but if you multiply by 12, that's a substantial increase.
0.4% increase means if a shirt cost $25 in May, it would have cost $25.10 by the end of June. Both professors agreed this month's numbers mean the Federal Reserve Board isn't likely to cut interest rates in July, but Goss is still predicting there could be one down the road.
Right now, as we talk, you and I talk today, that cut in September will be 0.25%. That's 25 basis points. That'll bring the prime interest rate down from 7.5% to 7.5% to 7.25%.
Now, that prime rate is what companies use to set interest on things like mortgages and credit cards. If it were to be cut this fall, that would be the lowest since 2022, despite the recent increase in the inflation rate itself. Stephanie?
Well, today we had a very, very serious assignment. We got to sample the newest Fair Foods and help choose which 3 will make it to the final round for this year's Best New Food.
That's right, and we may not be able to eat for the rest of the week, but take a look at the delicious decision-making experience and hear from the 3 lucky vendors who are moving on to the next round.
Red is second, white is third. Iowa night.
It feels very good. It feels great. You know, all the hard work. Everybody had to come to try the bacon chicken ranch from Ranch, the special ranch, homemade ranch too.
It comes with a butter dough. Not as sweet as that. That's pretty good.
I'll stamp these. You got to get this wrapped. Ready? Yeah. Boom.
Just looking around and seeing just the talent that's in this room, it's just an incredible honor to be here. It's a trio of oak smoked ham balls that celebrate all of the nostalgic Fair flavors that you've grown to love over the years.
This is a Hawaiian hog, and this is sweet chili glaze on the side. I heard the drizzle is right on your sandwich. Think about what things represent Iowa to bring to the Iowa State Fair, and a scotcheroo is a very typical Iowa dessert. So we took that and made an ice cream inspired by that with a peanut butter butterscotch base.
Did he just say we should be at the end after?
Wow, that's a good cheese pull, baby.
That one right there, that last shot.
So good.
So good. I'm so shocked that didn't make the top 3.
My mother is going to be very upset when she sees that.
The cheese pull.
The very unladylike eating that I displayed today.
It's allowed at the State Fair. That was the Korean corn dog.
Yeah. It was
that was amazing.
That was my number 1. It didn't make the list, but just know we love you and we will be visiting your booth.
Oh, yes.
Lots
you won
of
over
good
the
things.
local 5 team, that's for sure.
No kidding. And fun fact, they gave us Rolaids, and we're all wishing we had participated. A lot of good stuff. You don't have to eat them all in one day like we did.
Yeah. You take off on you? You just ran this.
So this is a really crazy situation here. That exchange right there between an officer from Des Moines Police and an emergency dispatcher captured this morning as police say that they have arrested a man they say tried to run down pedestrians, rammed into a squad car, and then crashed into a East Village hotel. Now, Local 5's Megan McPherson is live at the scene with the latest from police. And Megan, I know you also spoke with several people who saw all of this go down.
Yeah, I did, Joseph. We actually met the hotel guest who made that first 911 call this morning. She tells me that she was standing right here in this area, just outside of the Embassy Suites in the East Village, when she actually saw that driver attempting to chase people down, pedestrians here on the sidewalk on foot, before then getting back in his car and trying to come up onto the sidewalks and hit people with his car. All of this, again, according to that pedestrian, and those reports were confirmed by Des Moines Police. Now, Des Moines Police also attempted to then arrest that driver and pull him over in the intersection here right in front of us near City Hall, which is again in this area in the East Village. He then rammed into a squad car, took off, and ran several lights before crashing into the hotel. We received these images that you're seeing on your screen from another witness who saw the aftermath of the crash, and she says that she was just shocked by what happened here and that it happened so early early in the morning. The suspect did sustain a leg injury, per Des Moines police. He was arrested on scene and treated at a local hospital. Now, thankfully, no officers or pedestrians reported any injuries as a result of this incident. And also, this area behind me, you can see in the building, actually over this shoulder, that area where you don't see any plants right now, that's actually where the car made contact with the building. You can see, though, it didn't do any physical or exterior damage to the building. There's just some missing plants in that area that we saw gardeners tending to this morning. We're live in Des Moines. Megan McPherson, Local 5 News.
As our relatively wet summer rolls on, mosquitoes are returning to the area. Some central Iowa communities are now taking action, while others are not. Local 5's JD Snover found out what some cities are doing to help prevent the spread of bug-borne illnesses.
The city of Ames and other areas in central Iowa have begun to treat for mosquitoes this summer. They say it's a vital part of user experience for public green spaces.
For many people, it's not going to be, it's something that you can kind of brush off as a common cold, but for others, it can actually be life-threatening. And it's something that we would like to prevent as best as possible.
As mosquito season returns, multiple cities are taking steps to prevent bug-borne illnesses. While the commonly carried West Nile virus hasn't been reported in humans in the state yet this year, it has already been detected in the bugs themselves. That's why cities like Ames are taking precautions.
What happens is we set out traps in our park system, various locations throughout our park system. They collect mosquitoes. We take that to Iowa State. They count them, and they also they separate out the female mosquitoes, and we'll test those.
It also includes a process called fogging, which takes place 3 times a week in Ames. That's when pesticides are sprayed throughout the city. The conditions for that have to be right, though, and it's not something they do all summer every year.
We know, it's not like an automatic thing that we go out and start it every year. Last couple of years have been really dry. We've done very minimal spraying and larviciding. This year, it's apparent that we need to do it.
Other cities participating in similar systems this year include Adel, Nevada, and Johnston. Des Moines has opted out of similar practices, citing budget constraints.
The city says that treatment is most necessary in heavily wooded areas as well as areas surrounding water. In Ames, I'm JD Snover, Local 5 News.
Well, earlier this month, the Urbandale Police Department reported that a bicyclist died after sustaining injuries from a fallen tree while out for a ride. Now, the cyclist was 61-year-old Curtis Leverton. Local 5's Larissa Leone spoke with a close friend of Leverton's about the impact he had on his life.
Well, Stephanie, John Linan is a close friend of Leverton, and their friendship originated in high school and was later sparked up again when Linan became Leverton's personal trainer. Linan says they both made lasting impacts on each other's lives.
I felt pinched up there.
61-year-old Curtis Leverton was known for living his life on a high note.
He was all for living life and being with his friends.
Leverton is known largely in the cycling and motorcycling community here in Iowa. This month, he lost his life after a tree fell on him while he was biking on a trail in Urbandale. Longtime friend and former personal trainer John Linan says Leverton was known for being adventurous and risky.
He had cheated death several times, including a motorcycle accident where he flew off a vintage motorcycle and hit his head on a railroad track.
Linan shares he'll never forget a conversation he had with Leverton about his concerns of traveling with his son who had cancer. Luckily for Linan, his friend had a plan.
He said, I've been looking into this. Just take my jet. Just give me a 24-hour notice and you guys can just fly. You won't have to worry about the airports. And I broke down crying.
Linan says his friend Kurt was down to earth, a generous philanthropist, and a man with a strong sense of humor.
Kurt would laugh right now as to how he died. He would like, all these things I've been through, and I get knocked off by a tree. That's just the way he was. He would just be like, are you kidding me?
Linan says Leverton had a little acreage down south of Indianola called The Farm, and he would hold events down there for a motocross. Certainly a man who was always up for adventure.
We saw lots of politics today in the Metro. The Iowa Republican Party's Lincoln Dinner wrapped up just a bit ago following the 2 Good Trouble Lives On protests that took place. Local 5's Emma Stroner is in studio with a recap of the events and how people on both sides reacted to the rallies.
That's right, Stephanie. There's no shortage of activism in the city. I caught up with protest attendees and speakers at the Lincoln Dinner on how they feel about the protests. The rallies were held at Grayslake Park and at the Iowa State Capitol building. According to the Good Trouble Lives On website, they organized to protest against the Trump administration's recent actions and to honor the passing of Congressman John Lewis 5 years ago today. At the Capitol, one attendee says they're rallying because human rights are being threatened.
Right now, human rights are being trampled, and I really love our country, and I want it to be a wonderful place for my children. I have 2 young kids, and I want it to be a wonderful place for my children to grow up in.
Meanwhile, the Republican Party of Iowa held their annual Lincoln Dinner. The event featured remarks from Iowa State Representative Jeff Kaufman and Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. In response to the Good Trouble and No Kings rallies, Kaufman says the issues being challenged are out of the mainstream.
The issues that they are protesting are so far out of the mainstream, it's beyond comprehension.
Kaufman says independents and moderate Democrats are likely not standing for the protests that have taken place in Iowa and throughout the country.
The summer tradition that draws thousands of cyclists right here to Iowa is almost here. And we are getting so close because the 52nd annual RAGBRAI is going to take those riders on a 406-mile journey across northern Iowa. And for the first time, it's actually going into Minnesota as well. Local 5's Megan McPherson is here live to share what's new for this year's ride ahead of the big kickoff weekend. Megan.
Yeah, Joseph, cyclists from across the country and around the world will travel to Iowa this weekend for RAGBRAI. Ride director Matt Phippen says that over 20,000 riders are expected to make this year's trek, which will showcase several small towns and cities across the northern part of our state, as you can see in this year's route map. Now, those communities, along with state agencies and RAGBRAI organizers, are busy putting the final touches on months of preparation. For 52 years, the ride has always stayed on Iowa roads. Until now. On day 2, cyclists will cross state lines and make a 15-mile detour into southern Minnesota, passing through Brown County Park before heading to Estherville. Phippen tells me they have worked hard to make this out-of-state stop feel just as inviting as the towns in Iowa. He also praised the Minnesota agencies helping to ensure riders' safety.
We had the opportunity to go say hi to our friends up north, talk to 3 different agencies that would help us. They all said yes, and they've been fantastic to work with. But we're creating kind of an oasis with tons of vendors. It'll definitely be one of the key spots, the highlights for the day.
Speaking of vendors, nearly 24 of them will fill the park, offering food and drinks to riders before they continue on their way. And following a very common RAGBRAI tradition, riders can dip their tires in Pearl Lake nearby. Also new this year, a military flyover ahead of the opening ceremonies in Orange City tomorrow night. Riders will leave from there Sunday and head to Milford, which is hosting an overnight for the first time.